Hello everyone and welcome to Story Time. I'm Miss Emily. Today we have a very special guest. Miss Terri Brimm is here to read to us today some very special Hanukkah story time. So if you were here last year, Ms. Terri came and read to us last year about Hanukkah, and she's going to read to us again. So she has a special story for us. She's got some cool things to show us, and then I'll show you how you're going to do your story time craft. So take it away.
Okay, thank you. Now that Miss Emily stepped away, I'm going to take off my mask so you can hear me. So I'm going to be reading Shmelf the Hanukkah Elf. And Hanukkah is a very special time of year for us. It's very similar to Christmas in some ways, but not exactly. We celebrate the defeat of the Syrians by a very small group of Hebrew soldiers, of Jewish soldiers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you the book first, and then I'm going to tell you about all the cool stuff I brought. So let's get started. Shmelf, the Hanukkah Elf. Up at the North Pole, covered in snow, you'll find Santa's workshop, as most of you know. But no one can do all that work by themselves, so helping him out is an army of elves. The most unsung elves of those who assist are the elves in charge of checking the list. You know what the list is, right? They all work so hard, down to the last elf, and the newest of them was a fellow named Shmelf. Shmelf didn't spend time playing merry elf games, but sat in his cubicle staring at names. His job was to check through Santa's list twice to see whether kids had been naughty or nice. Shmelf loved what he did, but as Christmas drew near, he looked at his list and he cried out, "Oh dear!" He'd found many children who had been quite good, but would not receive presents, though it seemed that they should. Oh, look, Santa's gone high tech. He ran like a flash to see the head elf, who smiled and said, "Now calm yourself, Shmelf. Of course you don't know since you're still quite newish, but the kids on this list are actually Jewish, like me. They don't celebrate Christmas, but that's fine, you see. They celebrate Hanukkah, their own jubilee. It won't be dear Santa who brings them a gift, but their mommies and daddies. Do you get my drift?" So, see, here's all the list of the good children, good Jewish children. I hope I'm on the list this year. Shmelf returned to his desk, his mind quite shaken. Kids with no Christmas? He must be mistaken. So later that night, careful not to be missed, he snuck off to visit a house on the list. Shmelf peered in and wondered, could this be right? There wasn't a tree or stocking in sight. Instead, he saw menorahs with candles so thin, and children were giving their dreidels a spin. You see my menorah? And I have a dreidel too. There was gelt, chocolate coins, wrapped up in gold foil, and latkes frying in pan filled with oil. Then Shmelf saw there were presents, one for each night. His elfish eyes gleamed as he squealed with delight. He's making latkes. Those are potato pancakes. See, I've got a latke on my shirt. Shmelf listened as Mom told the Hanukkah story of the Maccabees' battle for Israel's glory. And though the brave soldiers won their great fight, their temple had oil for just one more night. But once they set the oil ablaze, a miracle happened. It lasted 8 days. "Hey, now I get it," Shmelf said with a grin. "Hanukkah's awesome. I'm totally in." There's the Maccabees, and they beat the Syrian army. And this is the original, this looks like the original menorah. that was in Israel, where the oil lasted for 8 days instead of just 1. He raced back north and went straight to the boss. You know who the boss is, right? The big man himself, good old Santa Claus. Schmelf explained his discovery, this holiday grand, and when he was done, Santa held up his hand. Good, Schmelf, chuckled Santa. It fills me with joy to see how you care for Jewish girls and boys. It shows me that you are much more than a clerk, and so I will task you with this special work. Hanukkah is a time for family and song, for joy and tradition. It's where you belong. I've decided, at Hanukkah you'll travel the world, bringing magic and joy to each boy and girl. Santa gave Schmelf clothes of white and blue, the colors of Hanukkah, that much Schmelf knew. Blue, white, a little bit of silver. And a sleigh that could soar straight through the air with a Jewish reindeer named by the name of Asher. Even got his own reindeer with a good Hebrew name. I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't flip my finger, sorry. Now, you good Jewish kids, for 8 nights each December, Schmelf will come visit, some years in November. He'll make sure your latkes are crispy and thin, your menorahs burn brighter, and your dreidels win. It's always fun when your dreidels win. There's one special gift that you'd like this year. Tell Schmelf he'll whisper in Mom or Dad's ear. He'll do what he can to nudge them that way in hopes that the presents bring joys of hooray! To reward Schmelf and Asher for all their goodwill, you can leave out some gelt, remember, chocolate coins, and a nice kosher dill pickle. What a magical Hanukkah, you'll think to yourself. Oh, look who likes the dill pickle there. Asher must like pickles. See you next year, Schmelf, the Hanukkah elf. So this year, Schmelf, the Hanukkah elf, will start coming on the night of December 10th, and he'll come every night for the next 8 nights. And I think you're going to see this on the Friday.
Yeah, the 11th.
The 11th. On the 11th, which will be the second night of Hanukkah. So let me show you what we use during Hanukkah. Excuse me, I have allergies. This is a menorah, and it holds candles. Now this is a wooden one. This isn't a real one. This is safe for children. And on the first night of Hanukkah, we light 1 candle. And then on the second night, we light 2 candles. Now you're looking at this going, wait a minute, that's 3 candles. Well, we don't count this candle. This is the helper candle, and we use this candle to light all the other candles. So we don't count this one because he's the helper. He has a very important job. He lights all the other candles. So third night and on until on the last night, we have 8 candles. And we get a present every night, each night of Hanukkah. And we play games. We talked about the dreidel, which is a spinning top. And it has 4 Hebrew letters on it that stand for the Hebrew phrase Nes Gadol Haya Sham, which means a great miracle happened there. There being Israel. Now in Israel, there's a little change on it. They don't have this letter, the Shin, which stands for Sham, which means there. They have a, oh gosh, I can't think of the name of the letter, but the word is Po. Pei. That's the letter is the Pei, and the word is Po. Nes Gadol Haya Po. A great miracle happened here in Israel. So we take this and we spin it, and whatever it lands on, there is a corresponding number of pieces of gelt, gold coins. Now you can use gold coins, you can use pennies, M&Ms, pretzel sticks, whatever you want to use, whatever you have around the house. You don't need special chocolate covered. You don't need special chocolate gelt, foil wrapped chocolate gelt to play the game. But I landed on nun, which means I don't get anything. Hay means you would get half of what's in the pot in the center. Good, Gimel, sorry, I'm a little trying to remember my Hebrew letters here, which means you get everything in the pot, and then everybody has to put a couple more pieces in the pot so we can have a little bit in the middle. And then Shin, which means you have to share with the pot, which means you have to put a couple into the pot. For Hanukkah, we have special meals. We have a special meal on the first night. Usually I make brisket, and I make latkes. So what are latkes? Latkes are basically potato pancakes, and they're not quite like hash browns. They're a little bit better. In fact, they're a lot better than hash browns, in my opinion. And we fry them in oil, and the oil is reminiscent of the oil that lasted for 8 days in Israel. Excuse me, pardon me. So we have latkes, and we also have something called sufganiyot. Sufganiyot is jelly donuts. Isn't that a great holiday tradition? Who doesn't like a good jelly donut? And that's really all that happens, is we just light the candles every night, and we say special prayers in Hebrew and in English, and we have latkes and play games and get presents. Let me put my mask back on.
Thank you so much, Miss Terri, for coming and telling us about Hanukkah. Doesn't Hanukkah sound awesome? I think it sounds awesome. So if you picked up your Storytime kit, you'll have some special things in there. You're going to have everything you need to make your own menorah craft. You're going to have your holder here, and it's up to you to put the color on your paper plate. So I chose to do yellow, like gold, but you could make yours silver or any other color you'd like. Then you're going to have 9 candles. You're going to have your 8 candles for Hanukkah and a helper candle as well to glue onto your menorah. And then you have these pieces of tissue paper that are going to represent the flame. Okay, and then in your Storytime kit, you'll also have a dreidel. So you can play the dreidel game, and I'll have an explanation in there of what each of the letters mean, so that you can play the game. I think I might also include a recipe for latkes, so maybe you can try that with your mom and dad at home. Thank you so much for joining us for Storytime. We'll see you next week for our last Storytime of the year. Bye.
Bye. Happy Hanukkah.